The signal came during Earth's darkest hour of night. It pierced through the usual cosmic static that SETI had monitored for decades, clear and deliberate. Unlike the random bursts of distant stars or the rhythmic pulses of pulsars, this was different. This was a message. Dr. Sarah Chen stood frozen before her monitor at the Arecibo Observatory, her coffee forgotten in her hand as she stared at the waveform pattern dancing across her screen. After 20 years of searching the stars for signs of intelligent life, they had found something. Or rather, something had found them. The message was elegant in its simplicity, transmitted in basic mathematical sequences that any spacefaring civilization would understand. But it was its content that sent chills down Sarah's spine. "Help us. You are our last hope." What made the transmission even more extraordinary was its origin. It came from the Asteri Confederation, an advanced alien civilization that had dismissed humanity as primitive barely a century ago when their scout ships first detected Earth's radio signals. The Asteri, with their crystalline ships and mastery over dark energy, had deemed humanity too primitive for contact. Now they were begging for help. Within hours, observatories worldwide confirmed the signal's authenticity. The message repeated, growing more urgent with each transmission. The Asteri weren't just asking for help, they were running from something. General Marcus Torres of the United Earth Defense Force stood before the Emergency Council, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic display of the Asteri transmission. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "What we're about to share will reshape humanity's place in the galaxy." The council chamber, hidden deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, fell silent. Representatives from every nation watched as Torres activated another hologram, this one showing the rapid collapse of Asteri space. Entire star systems were going dark, not just failing but completely vanishing from their sensors. "The Asteri, for all their advanced technology, are falling," Torres continued. "Whatever force they're facing, it's unlike anything they've encountered in their 50,000 years of space travel. And now, they're turning to us. The very species they once dismissed as primitive." Dr. Chen, invited to the council as Earth's leading xenocommunications expert, stepped forward. "The Asteri are abandoning their core worlds. Based on their transmission patterns, they're sending refugee ships to the edges of their territory, but they're running out of places to hide. And they think we can help." The Chinese representative's skepticism was evident. "We barely have colonies on Mars." A slight smile crossed Torres's face. "That's what they think. That's what everyone thinks." He pressed another button, and the hologram shifted to show something that made even Dr. Chen gasp. Massive underground facilities spanning continents, hidden fleets of ships unlike anything humanity had publicly acknowledged. "For the past century, while the galaxy ignored us, we prepared," Torres explained. "We learned from being underestimated. Every alien scout ship that passed us by, every dismissive assessment of our capabilities. It gave us time. Time to build, to innovate, to prepare for the day when the galaxy would need us." The chamber erupted in murmurs as Torres revealed humanity's secret. While the world thought their space program was limited to a few Mars colonies and lunar bases, the United Earth Defense Force had been building something far more substantial. Underground shipyards stretched beneath the Sahara, hidden fleet bases lurked beneath the Pacific's depths, and weapon systems beyond anything the public could imagine waited in secret orbital platforms disguised as debris. "We are not the primitive species the Asteri dismissed," Torres declared. "We are humanity. We evolved on a death world, survived multiple extinction events, and turned our harsh environment into a cradle of civilization. We've spent a century preparing for a threat we knew would one day come. The galaxy's about to learn why you don't underestimate humans." As if in response to his words, another transmission cut through Earth's communications. The Asteri message was no longer just a plea, it was a warning. Whatever force had devastated their civilization had followed their refugee ships. It was coming. Dr. Chen's hands flew over her console, decoding the new transmission. Her face paled as the message became clear. "General," she said, her voice barely a whisper, "they're saying we have less than a month before it reaches our solar system." Torres straightened his uniform, his expression hardening with determination. "Then it's time to show the galaxy what humanity can do. Send word to all UEDF facilities. Operation Rising Shield is now active. And send a message to the Astari. Earth stands ready to help. Tell them to bring their refugees here. We'll show them why humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons." "What is our greatest strength, General?" one of the council members asked. Torres looked at the hologram showing the approaching darkness that had consumed so much of Astari space. "Our greatest strength is that we never learned to quit. We never accepted our limitations, and we never, ever stopped fighting for survival." As the council chamber burst into activity, Dr. Chen looked at the stream of incoming Astari transmissions. The supposedly superior civilization that had once dismissed humanity was now running to them for protection. The galaxy was about to learn a crucial lesson. Never underestimate a species that had turned survival into an art form. The first Astari ships would arrive within days, and with them would come the greatest test humanity had ever faced. But for the first time in galactic history, Earth wasn't just another primitive world waiting to be judged by advanced civilizations. Earth was the last line of defense, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy exactly what they were capable of. The first Astari ships appeared on the edge of the solar system, like shattered crystals catching sunlight. Their once magnificent vessels, renowned across the galaxy for their elegant design, now bore the scars of desperate flight. Massive crystalline ships limped toward Earth, their hulls cracked and their energy signatures fluctuating wildly. Admiral James Chen, Dr. Sarah Chen's brother and commander of Earth's hidden Pacific Fleet, watched the approaching refugees from his underwater command center. The facility, concealed beneath the Mariana Trench, was one of humanity's best-kept secrets. Through quantum-enhanced sensors, he observed the Astari fleet's approach. "How many?" he asked his tactical officer. 317 ships, sir, mostly civilian vessels. We're detecting approximately 2 million refugees aboard." The officer paused, checking another reading. "Sir, their life support systems are failing. Many ships are running on emergency power only." James nodded, his expression grim. "Begin Operation Sanctuary. Alert all hidden bases from Luna to Mars. It's time to show our guests what humanity has been building all these years." Across the solar system, humanity's hidden infrastructure awakened. Massive space stations, previously cloaked and disguised as asteroid clusters, revealed themselves. Orbital shipyards emerged from their camouflage, and defense platforms positioned throughout the asteroid belt powered up their systems. The Astari fleet's approach slowed as their sensors detected these revelations. Their communication channels erupted with surprised chatter. The primitive humans they had dismissed a century ago had built all this in secret. Aboard the leading Astari vessel, High Commander Lyra Telvar stood in stunned silence. Her people's prejudices about humanity crumbled as she watched the transformation of the solar system around her. Where they had expected to find a barely spacefaring civilization with a few primitive colonies, they instead discovered a system bristling with advanced technology. A transmission cut through their confusion. "Astari Refugee Fleet, this is Admiral James Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. Welcome to Sol System. We've prepared safe harbor for your people. Please follow the provided coordinates. Our medical teams stand ready to assist." Lyra's hands trembled as she accepted the transmission. "Admiral Chen, this is unprecedented. We had no idea your civilization had advanced so far. Why did you hide all this?" James's response carried a hint of wry amusement. "High Commander, when the galaxy decides you're primitive, it's amazing what you can build while no one's watching. Now let's get your people to safety. We can discuss the philosophy of underestimation later." The rescue operation unfolded with precision that spoke of years of preparation. Massive hangar bays opened within the lunar surface, revealing sprawling cities built in anticipation of just such an emergency. Space elevators, hidden beneath holographic camouflage, extended from Earth's surface to orbital stations that could house hundreds of thousands. Dr. Sarah Chen coordinated with Asteri medical teams, discovering that humanity's medical technology had advanced in ways that stunned their guests. While the Asteri had focused on crystal-based biotechnology, humans had developed nanomedicine that could adapt to any species' biology. "Your medical technology is remarkable," an Asteri physician admitted as they worked together in one of the lunar medical facilities. "How did you achieve this level of advancement without anyone noticing?" Sarah smiled as she calibrated a nanomed injector. "We learned early on that being underestimated was an advantage. While the galaxy's eyes were elsewhere, we poured everything into development. Every resource, every breakthrough, all hidden away until needed." But amid the rescue operations, urgent reports continued to flood in. The force that had devastated Asteri space was moving faster than anticipated. General Torres and Admiral Chen met in the Deep Sea Command Center to review the latest intelligence. "The Asteri call them the Void Collective," Torres explained, displaying intercepted sensor data, some kind of biomechanical hive mind that consumes entire civilizations. The Asteri thought their crystal technology made them invincible. They weren't prepared for an enemy that could adapt to and absorb their defenses. James studied the data, his expression thoughtful. "But we've been preparing for everything. Show me the latest deep space scans." The holographic display shifted, showing the approaching darkness that had consumed so much of Asteri space. It moved like a living shadow, absorbing light and matter alike. But now, thanks to Earth's quantum sensors, they could see something the Asteri had missed: patterns in the chaos, weaknesses in the seemingly invincible enemy. "They're not invincible," James declared, pointing to specific data points. "They're just really good at exploiting predictable defenses. And if there's one thing humans aren't, it's predictable." High Commander Lyra joined them, still adapting to the reality that humanity had far surpassed her people's expectations. "What are you suggesting, Admiral?" James shared a knowing look with Torres before responding. "We're suggesting, High Commander, that it's time to show you why being underestimated was the greatest gift your people ever gave us. While you were perfecting your crystal ships, we were preparing for every possible threat, even ones we couldn't imagine." As if to emphasize his words, the facility's quantum sensors detected new movement at the edge of the solar system. The Void Collective had arrived sooner than expected. The true test of humanity's hidden strength was about to begin. The Void Collective emerged from the darkness between stars like an oil slick across the cosmos. Earth's quantum sensors painted a terrifying picture: a vast network of biomechanical entities moving with both mechanical precision and organic fluidity. Where the Asteri saw only darkness, humanity's hidden technology revealed the truth. The collective was a symphony of countless machines and absorbed biological matter, all moving with singular purpose. Deep beneath the Pacific, Admiral James Chen studied the sensor feeds with Dr. Maya Rodriguez, Earth's leading expert in xenobiology. The Void Collective's approach had triggered every warning system humanity had developed over the past century. "It's beautiful, in a terrifying way," Maya observed, watching the intricate patterns of the approaching swarm. "They're not just consuming civilizations, they're assimilating them. Every species they absorb adds to their complexity." The quantum imaging showed layers of technology and biological matter from dozens of fallen civilizations. The crystalline signatures of Asteri tech pulsed within the mass, already twisted and repurposed to serve the collective's needs. High Commander Lyra entered the command center, her crystalline environmental suit catching the light. "Your sensors. They can see them clearly. Our best technology could barely detect their presence until it was too late. We developed our technology differently," James explained. While the galaxy focused on perfecting singular approaches, humanity hedged its bets. "We never knew what form the threat would take, so we prepared for everything." Deep space sensors suddenly blared warnings. The Void Collective had begun its assault on the outer defense networks. But instead of the quick consumption they had demonstrated in Asteri space, they encountered something new. "They've hit the first line of quantum mines," James announced, watching the tactical display. "Now we see if our theory works." The quantum mines weren't simple explosives. They were complex devices that operated on multiple dimensional frequencies simultaneously. As the collective attempted to absorb them, the mines shifted through quantum states, becoming impossible to fully assimilate. For the first time, the Void Collective's advance faltered. "Look at that," Maya pointed to the sensor readings. "They're trying to adapt, but they can't predict the quantum fluctuations. Every time they develop a countermeasure, the mines shift to a new state." Lyra watched in amazement as the supposedly invincible force that had destroyed her civilization struggled against human ingenuity. "How did you know this would work?" "We didn't," James admitted. "But humans have always excelled at finding unexpected solutions. We looked at how the collective operated, their perfect adaptation to known technologies, and realized their weakness had to be the unexpected." But the collective was learning. Though they couldn't fully adapt to the quantum mines, they began to split their forces, probing for weaknesses in Earth's defenses. The real battle was about to begin. General Torres's voice came through the command network. "All forces, implement Protocol Chaos. It's time to show them why humanity's greatest weapon has always been our unpredictability." Across the solar system, humanity's hidden fleets emerged from their concealment. But these weren't the elegant, standardized ships of the Asteri. Each vessel was unique, combining different technologies and tactical approaches. Some utilized quantum drives, others rode artificial gravity waves, and still others employed technologies that defied conventional classification. "You see," Maya explained to Lyra as they watched the fleets deploy, "we learned from Earth's nature. In biological systems, diversity is strength. Monocultures are vulnerable, but a diverse ecosystem is resilient. We applied the same principle to our technology." The Void Collective encountered something they had never faced before, a civilization they couldn't easily categorize or predict. Each human ship, each weapon system, each defensive measure operated on different principles. There was no single pattern to adapt to, no unified technology to assimilate and turn against its creators. But the collective was far from defeated. As they struggled against Earth's outer defenses, they began to reveal more of their true nature. Massive structures emerged from their swarm, twisted combinations of every civilization they had consumed. "They're not just a hive mind," Maya realized, studying the new sensor data. "They're an archive. Every species they've absorbed, they've preserved their knowledge, their technology, their very essence. They're not destroying civilizations, they're saving them in their own horrific way." James nodded grimly. "Which means they're not just attacking us. They're judging us, testing if we're worthy of their twisted form of preservation." A transmission suddenly cut through all channels, a communication unlike anything they had encountered before. The Void Collective was speaking, its voice a chorus of every civilization it had absorbed. "Your resistance is unprecedented. You have hidden more than your technology. You have hidden your potential. Perhaps you are worthy of true preservation." The message sent chills through the command center. But humanity had spent a century preparing for this moment, and they weren't about to let an alien hive mind decide their fate. "Send them our response," James ordered, his voice steady. "Tell them humanity doesn't need their kind of preservation. We preserve ourselves, through growth, through change, through evolution. And we're about to show them exactly what that means." The battle for Earth's solar system unfolded unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Where other civilizations had fallen into predictable patterns of defense and defeat, humanity orchestrated chaos itself as a weapon. The Void Collective encountered a dizzying array of tactics and technologies that refused to follow any logical pattern. Dr. Maya Rodriguez worked frantically in her laboratory aboard the Lunar Defense Station, analyzing real-time data from the battlefield. Behind her, High Commander Lyra watched in fascination as human scientists adapted and modified their technology on the fly. "Your people are changing your weapons and defenses in the middle of combat," Lyra observed, her voice mixing disbelief and admiration. "How can your forces coordinate with such constant modification?" Maya smiled as her hands danced across holographic controls. "That's the beauty of human military doctrine. We don't just allow for adaptation. We expect it. Every ship captain, every squadron leader is trained to think independently and innovate in the field." The main view screen showed the battle unfolding across the solar system. Human ships moved in seemingly random patterns, their formations chaos to the untrained eye. But there was a method to the madness. Each unpredictable movement was part of a larger strategy, one that the Void Collective struggled to counter. Admiral James Chen's voice came through the command network. "The Collective is attacking in force near Saturn. All units, implement Hydra Protocol." The human fleet suddenly split into smaller, autonomous groups. Each group adopted different tactics and technology loadouts. Some ships reconfigured their quantum drives to generate localized time distortions. Others deployed experimental weapons that targeted the underlying fabric of space-time itself. "We noticed something about the Collective's adaptation process," Maya explained to Lyra as they watched the battle unfold. "They can perfectly counter any technology or tactic they've observed, but they have to observe it first. So we made our entire defense strategy based on never showing them the same thing twice." The Void Collective's response was unprecedented. For the first time in their history of conquest, they were forced to divide their attention across multiple threats, each requiring different countermeasures. Their usual strategy of rapid adaptation and overwhelming force began to falter. In the Pacific Command Center, General Torres and Admiral Chen monitored the battle's progress. "They're starting to show signs of strain," Torres noted, pointing to sensor readings that showed disruptions in the Collective's neural network. "Their perfect coordination is breaking down." "Because they've never had to fight a war like this," James replied. "They're used to civilizations that try to perfect a single approach. But humanity." He gestured to the tactical display showing hundreds of different battle strategies playing out simultaneously. "We thrive on imperfection and adaptation." The Collective's next move surprised everyone. Instead of continuing their multi-pronged assault, they pulled back their forces and began to reconfigure. The massive swarm of biomechanical entities started to reshape itself, attempting to mirror humanity's diversity of approach. But there was a fatal flaw in their strategy. "They don't understand," Maya realized, watching the sensor feeds. "They're trying to copy our surface-level chaos, but they're missing the underlying principle. Their attempts at unpredictability are still following patterns. They're still thinking like a hive mind, trying to simulate independence." Dr. Sarah Chen, who had been coordinating with Asteri refugees to integrate their crystal technology with human defenses, joined them in the command center. "We've got something. The Asteri crystals. They don't just store energy, they store information. And the Collective has absorbed thousands of them." A plan began to form. If the Collective had preserved the Asteri crystals within their biomechanical matrix, those same crystals could be used as a weapon. Not through force, but through information. Every crystal the Collective absorbed contains the complete cultural and technological history of the Asteri, Sarah explained. "What if we could wake them all up at once? Not just the Asteri tech, but every piece of absorbed technology from every civilization they've consumed." Maya's eyes widened as she understood the implications. Information overload. Force them to process everything they've absorbed simultaneously, instead of the carefully curated integration they're used to. The plan was dangerous, perhaps even desperate, but it was exactly the kind of impossible solution that humanity specialized in. While the main fleet kept the Collective distracted with an ever-changing array of tactics, a smaller team began to implement what they called Operation Babel. Using modified Asteri crystal technology combined with human quantum communications, they prepared to send a signal that would resonate with every piece of absorbed technology within the collective. Each crystal, each scrap of preserved civilization, would suddenly demand to be heard. As the preparations were completed, Admiral Chen looked at the assembled human and Asteri leaders. This could backfire spectacularly, he warned. We might end up giving the collective even more power if they manage to adapt. That's what making the impossible possible looks like, Maya responded. It's what humans do best. We try the crazy ideas that just might work, because sometimes those are the only options left. The signal was ready. Humanity prepared to turn the Void Collective's greatest strength, its ability to absorb and preserve civilizations, into a weapon against itself. The next few moments would determine not just Earth's fate, but the fate of every civilization the collective had ever consumed. Operation Babel began with a whisper. A quantum signal, carried through modified Asteri crystals, rippled across the solar system. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The Void Collective continued its assault, its swarm of biomechanical entities pressing against Earth's defenses with relentless force. Then the whisper became a roar. Deep within the collective's neural network, countless absorbed civilizations suddenly awakened. Every piece of preserved technology, every stored consciousness, every scrap of cultural memory demanded attention simultaneously. The effect was immediate and devastating. The massive swarm surrounding Earth began to convulse. Sections of it shifted and transformed chaotically as different absorbed technologies activated and conflicted with each other. The perfect coordination that made the collective so formidable began to break down. It's working, Dr. Maya Rodriguez announced, her eyes fixed on the sensor readings. The collective's neural network is experiencing cascade failures. They can't process everything at once. Admiral James Chen watched from the Pacific Command Center as the enemy force began to tear itself apart from within. But victory wasn't assured yet. The collective was still immensely powerful, and now it was becoming increasingly unpredictable. All ships, execute final phase, he ordered. Hit them while they're divided. Earth's defense fleet launched a coordinated attack unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Each ship utilized different combinations of technology. Human innovations merged with recovered Asteri crystals, quantum weapons paired with conventional explosives, time distortion fields working alongside gravitational disruptors. The collective couldn't adapt fast enough. Every time they developed a countermeasure to one form of attack, they faced 3 more they'd never encountered. Their swarm, already struggling with internal chaos, began to fragment under the assault. But the collective wouldn't go down without a fight. In their desperation, they attempted something unprecedented, a full integration of all their absorbed knowledge at once. The massive biomechanical entity began to glow with energy as it tried to harness every technology it had ever consumed. They're attempting to turn our strategy against us, High Commander Lyra warned, reading the energy signatures. If they succeed in combining everything at once. They won't, Dr. Sarah Chen interrupted, because they're still thinking like a hive mind. They're trying to force everything to work together in perfect harmony. But that's not how diversity works. That's not how humanity works. She was right. The collective's attempt to harness all their absorbed knowledge simultaneously was like trying to play every musical instrument in an orchestra at once, expecting the symphony. Instead, they created chaos. The massive entity writhed in space, its form shifting between countless configurations as absorbed technologies and consciousness fought for control. Sections of the swarm began to break away, their shared neural network failing under the strain of too much simultaneous input. Now, General Torres ordered, all ships, fire everything you've got. Earth's fleet struck from all directions, each ship using different weapons and tactics. The collective, already struggling to maintain cohesion, couldn't mount an effective defense. Their swarm began to break apart, sections of it either shutting down or breaking free entirely. As the battle reached its climax, something unexpected happened. The freed sections of the collective began to stabilize, but not as part of the hive mind. The absorbed civilizations, their consciousness and technology awakened by Operation Babel, began to reassert their independence. "They're breaking free," Maya observed in wonder. "The collective isn't just being destroyed, it's being unmade. Every civilization they absorbed is getting a chance at resurrection." The process was beautiful and terrifying to watch. The massive swarm that had threatened Earth transformed into a kaleidoscope of different technologies and entities, each reclaiming its unique identity. Among them, the distinctive crystalline formations of Asteri technology glittered as they reformed into their original configurations. High Commander Lyra watched in tears as sections of her civilization's fleet began to reconstruct themselves. "You didn't just save Earth," she said to the humans around her. "You freed everyone the collective ever consumed." The battle wasn't over. There were still hostile elements of the collective fighting to maintain control, and the process of separating and restoring absorbed civilizations would take time. But the immediate threat to Earth had been neutralized, and humanity had proven itself in ways no one could have predicted. Admiral Chen stood in the command center, watching the sensor feeds as the remnants of the collective were either destroyed or transformed. "Send word to all ships," he ordered. "Begin rescue operations for the freed civilizations, and send a message to the galactic community. Earth stands ready to help rebuild." Dr. Maya Rodriguez looked at the data streaming in from the battle zone. "The galaxy's going to be very different after this," she observed. "No one's going to underestimate humanity again." "That's not what matters," Sarah Chen replied, working alongside Asteri scientists to stabilize the free technology. "What matters is that we proved something today, not just to the galaxy, but to ourselves. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons. It's our ability to face the impossible and find a way through." As Earth's ships moved to assist the newly freed civilizations, the solar system became a beacon of hope for the galaxy. Humanity had done more than survive. They had shown that diversity, adaptability, and the willingness to try the impossible were more powerful than any hive mind could ever be. The age of being underestimated was over. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not through conquest or assimilation, but by proving that sometimes the best way to fight the darkness is to light a path for others to follow.